please help welcome Dr. Katherine Albrecht.
Kind of soft.
This right here.
Katherine, you may be able to just leave it there.
We'll see. Can people hear me okay? Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to kind of put the mic right up. There we go. I'll do that. Switch there. Super. Well, let me start by thanking you all for taking time out of your Monday evening. I know Mondays are kind of rough days for everybody, and asking you to come by here after work is a lot to ask. So I want to thank everybody who's driven in and fought the traffic and come on out to pay attention to this issue. My interest in this, and if people are not familiar with my background, just a little bit of history here. I'm actually an educational privacy researcher, and the whole purpose of my research and my academic career has been to understand why it is that people don't protect their own privacy and why they make poor privacy decisions. And what I've discovered in the course of years of research is that they make bad decisions because they don't understand that the things around them have the potential to invade their privacy. So my big concern here, did we just lose our mic? Okay, yeah, so my big concern here in San Antonio is that we've got a program that was imposed back in the spring, actually. That's when the first notices went up about the student pilot tracking or student tracking pilot program, that 4,200 students at the Anson Jones Middle School and John Jay High School would be issued RFID tracking badges. They put it up on the website. There we go. The Northside Independent School District put that information up on the website. And let me ask, do we have a representative here tonight from the Northside Independent School District? Is anyone here representing the district? I actually put a couple of calls into them, and I know that Heather Fazio from Texas, Texans for Accountable Government, who organized this event, has also tried rather diligently to get somebody to come out. So we're actually a little bit disappointed because at the last couple of board meetings, the public has shown up, the community has come in, they wanted to ask questions, and they've been told, well, it's not the right forum, we've got other business to tend to. And so when Heather and other members of the community here, the Hernandez family and others, really made an effort to create an opportunity that's not all about school business. We were respectful. They've got that to do at their board meetings, so let's come out here and have that conversation. We were a little bit disappointed that they opted not to respond to those requests. And now we find out that the vendor isn't here either. So I just want to clarify to members of the media and people who may be watching this on video that we made every attempt, or Heather, I know, made every attempt to make this a very balanced event, to get all of the perspectives on the table. And that really was the goal, was to have, you know, people from all sides here expressing their views, explaining the pros and cons from where they sat. Given that that's not going to happen, I don't really want to turn this into a complete one-sided lynch mob, but I am not going to make their case for them. So,
they've already based themselves.
Yeah, well, so let me, in a nutshell, let me at least give you their justification. So they announced this back in the spring, that they would be implementing this program. And by the way, when I did speak to Pascual Gonzalez last week, who is the district, their PR person, he said, well, we don't feel a need to turn out to a community forum. We've already spoken with the community and clearly communicated about this way back in the spring. And I said, well, how'd you do that? And he said, well, on our website. So parents of the school district were expected, or I guess you are continually expected to view every page of that website all the time. And if you miss something, you know, if you blink and you miss it, then, well, I guess that's your fault. So they believe that they've already done a great job of explaining all of this through their website. I would encourage you to check out their website because a lot of the information on it, I believe, is a little bit contentious as well. Some of the things about the tags, which we'll be talking about tonight. So just to bring everybody up to speed of why we're here, 4,200 students at these two schools are part of a pilot program designed to reduce absenteeism and to do a better job of taking attendance. And the reason for that is that, like all public schools in the U.S., their funding is based on attendance numbers. So during the course of the day, if they take attendance during Algebra 1 class at 9 a.m., and Johnny happens to be in the bathroom instead of Algebra 1 class, and they take attendance once, and they don't count him, they don't get their funding. So that's how they came up with this idea that the kids would wear these badges on a lanyard around their necks that send out a signal every 45 seconds to a series of readers in the ceiling that record their precise location throughout the day. So the idea there is if we miss Johnny when we take attendance in algebra class, we'll catch him later when he's walking down the hallway on the way to science class, and that will boost their attendance numbers. So these schools and this district, the Northside Independent School District, apparently has one of the highest rates of absenteeism in the state. So that's one of their justifications for it. It's also struggling financially, as are many schools, and so they want to take advantage of every possible dollar, funding dollar that comes in. So the real question, of course, comes out just on that count alone. Do you really need to track kids' precise location and log them in a database every 45 seconds in order to know if they were on campus at some point or not? And I think the answer to that is a pretty obvious no. There's lots of other ways that you could do that more effectively than this. But taking that to the next step, if you actually look at the technology and what it is and what it does, then I think it raises a whole host of other questions having nothing to do with attendance. So let me describe the tags for you. It's like an ID tag, like any ID tag that you would see a student have. It has their picture, their ID number on it. It goes on a lanyard around their necks. And it has 2-button batteries inside of it that transmit an electromagnetic frequency signal, or a radio wave. So that radio wave is blasting out every 45 seconds. It's the same signal every time. So every one of these 4,200 kids has their own unique ID signal. That unique ID signal is broadcast in a 75-foot radius all around them. So each kid is essentially standing inside of a 150-foot swath of electromagnetic radiation. Now, that creates problems from a security standpoint because anyone can pick up that signal. They can pick up that signal through walls. They can pick up that signal down the street. And according to Mike Wade, the vendor, in testimony before the Texas State Legislature last year, they can pick up that signal at the length of a football field when they're outside. So that's a huge distance to pick up somebody's signal. It's not about keeping the kids secure at that point because once they leave campus, these signals are beaming out into the air, and anyone with even rudimentary RF knowledge, basic hobbyists using parts they can buy off the internet, could create a reader to pick these signals up. And it would be possible then to walk down the street and identify the homes in which middle school kids were, at least where their badges were. So that's, I gotta say, that's my primary concern, is that you've got kids walking around with this swath of energy that's beaming out these signals. You've also got the obvious civil liberties and privacy issues of, do we really want to condition an entire generation to grow up believing that government authorities, which is what school district officials are, have the right to track their precise location every 45 seconds and log it in a database? What kind of adults will they be when they graduate after, how many years? All the way through 6 years of experiencing that. They're going to be adults who will not have any understanding of privacy, personal privacy, locational privacy, or even of the ability for an individual to simply say no to an overreaching, overbearing government. So there's real civil liberties concerns. As an educator, I believe that our public schools are really here to help people understand how to protect our free way of life, our constitutional republic, and to stay independent. But they're using the schools, I think, in a very different way with this program. And then my final concern is anyone who's listened to my radio program any length of time or followed sort of my personal journey, I am just now coming back from a 2-year horrific bout of breast cancer. And during that, believe me, I cleaned up my diet. My diet was already pretty clean. I cleaned it up a lot and added exercise, and I pay attention to the water. We have a special water filter. I do everything possible to reduce my exposure to things that could potentially trigger that cancer to come back. And I will say that if I had a daughter attending the school district who was in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, and that would be between the ages of 12 and 17, the last thing in the world I would want would be for an active radio frequency transponder to be hanging between her developing breasts every 45 seconds irradiating those breasts. So we know, if you look at the research, the jury's out. It's unclear whether that exposure does or does not contribute to breast cancer. Studies on both sides, very compelling evidence on both sides that it's safe, that it's not. The reality is we don't know. And I really hate the idea that San Antonio school kids would be the guinea pigs trying to find the answer to that question. So we've got health issues, we've got security issues, we certainly have privacy and civil liberties issues, and we can get into how the technology works and other things about it a little bit later, but I at least wanted to give you that overview. And the one thing that Mike Wade did explain to me is that the reader devices for this technology are every 100 feet in the ceiling. All the reader devices need to pick these signals up is simply to be plugged into a computer. And what that means is that once they start a program like this, you can't turn these things off. They're on all the time. You could start putting those readers anywhere. You could put those readers in the lampposts. You could put those readers in parking lots. You could put them in Walmart. You could put them anywhere. And the real question is, how do you get the tags onto the people? So if you mandate it on children, then it's really just a question of who wants to set up a reader who would be able to read that. So it creates the potential for San Antonio to really become a centralized hub of companies that would like to experiment with this technology for their own purposes. So with that, say thank you, and I will be happy to answer questions when the time comes.
I am Dr. Laura Pressley, and I got my PhD in chemistry from the University of Texas at Austin. And I spent 17 years in the semiconductor industry in Austin, working at Motorola and Advanced Micro Devices. I've designed these chips, and I have improved their yields. I have managed teams in Malaysia, China, and Austin, and I know about this technology very, very intimately. What I want to do is talk a little bit about the